The Shining is easily one of those films that can stand the test of time and has stood the test of time. You can consider it a horror film, you can consider it a drama, you can consider it a psychological thriller. It can be all these things, and it can be interpreted in so many different ways. I think it's safe to say that this will always stand the test of time, and even decades into the future, this will still be considered a classic, a film to which other horror movies could be compared to. Lenny, what do you think? Do you agree with that, or what? Lenny doesn't live here anymore. Hi, I'm Lenny, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the classic film, The Shining. This film was released in 1980 by Warner Brothers Pictures, and it's 2 hours and 26 minutes. It's a tour de force. It's a great ride from beginning to end. The Shining is based off of Stephen King's novel of the same name, The Shining. But I would like to actually say that it's loosely adapted from or loosely based off of Stephen King's work, because this is Stanley Kubrick's version of it. The Shining, the film, isn't a true representation of Stephen King's novel. Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining still has the major characters that are within Stephen King's book, but though they may be the same in name, they are not the same within character development, personality, and behavior. Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance, Shelley Duvall plays Wendy Torrance, Danny Lloyd plays Danny Torrance, and Scatman Crothers plays Halloran. Jack Torrance is going for an interview at the Overlook Hotel. He's looking to basically be the innkeeper, per se, the maintenance man during the off seasons of the Overlook. There's no guests. It will just be a family, typically a family left there to take care of the Overlook Hotel and run it and keep things up in the best shape possible. You learn that Jack Torrance is in need of a job, and we do learn that he would like to write a novel and that he would like to write an outline and a thesis. Running the Overlook Hotel during the winter months would give him the perfect time during this isolation to get into the process, into the mindscape that he needs to be able to write. While on this job interview to get the position at the Overlook Hotel, he is informed before he signs on that a man named Grady, who had the same position that Jack Torrance is going out for, suffered from cabin fever during his isolated stay with his wife and his two daughters, who are twins, and he brutally murdered them with an axe before killing himself. So the operations manager does fully disclose this to Jack and asks if he's still interested, which Jack is, says it's an amazing, intriguing story, but he would still love the opportunity to do so. Jack, along with his wife, Wendy, and his son, Danny, they head to the Overlook Hotel. They are going to stay there, and they are going to be the takers of this lovely establishment. It is a beautiful place. Basically, right off the bat, though, things aren't right with the Overlook Hotel. There's an ominous feeling. We have already learned of the early history with Grady and his family. Something that I find very interesting that you learn within the film. When the Torrances are getting a tour, the Torrances getting a tour of the Overlook Hotel, and they're exploring the outside, the new operations manager, the hotel manager that's walking them around, mentioned that the Overlook Hotel is originally built on an Indian burial ground. When in the history of films or novels or whatever has anything good ever come from something being built on top of an Indian burial ground? Never. Bells and whistles should have went off when the Torrances heard that. You should have grabbed your crap, that which wasn't even unpacked yet, get in the car and skadoot and go find something else. So young Danny Torrance, the son, he is a gifted individual. He has a power, a psychic power that is nicknamed the Shine. And it's actually given the name the Shine or the Shining by Halloran, who's played by Scatman Crothers, who has a brief interaction with Danny, but they hit it off very, very quickly because both of them are in tune to this psychic ability. They can speak to each other within their own minds. They can also catch on to images of things that happened in the past or potentially things that are going to happen in the future. He's also very tortured by it because it's an ability that he's not able to fully discuss with his mom and dad. They actually don't want to discuss it with him. They ask him not to discuss it with others. It's something that they're actually frightened of. Danny also has to go through something very kind of trying by himself because he has a father that's an addict. His father is a recovering alcoholic. He's only been sober about 5 to 6 months before taking this job on. His father is also very verbally abusive to Wendy Torrance, who's very submissive to Jack and his demands and kind of enables him and caters to him. Once the interview takes place and is done with, Jack Torrance, actually within this film, Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack Torrance, he is weird right off the bat. There's nothing really subtle about Jack Torrance. Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack Torrance is very Jack Nicholson, who is a great actor, but there's no ramping up in terms of how volatile that he can be and will be, and unstable. Unstable is actually the word that I'm looking for. It's not a slow descent. It starts ramping up very, very quickly. And Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack is very different than in the book. So once the hotel staff leaves and everyone leaves the Overlook Hotel, the guests, and it's just the Torrances, and they settle into their new routine. Again, things happen very, very quickly. It doesn't take long for Danny Torrance, who's already picked up glimpses of what's going to happen when they're at the Overlook Hotel before they get there, to pick up other glimpses once there. Right away, he spots these two twin girls wearing blue dresses who already look creepy as hell right from the get-go. If I was young Danny and I saw these chicks who just stare at him very ominously and don't necessarily say anything, even if they weren't dead, spirits, ghosts, what have you, if they were fully functional, fully alive, young little people, children, I would not go play with them because they look freaky as hell. Now, it sounds horrible judging someone by their looks. I'm not talking about racism or shaming. They just look creepy. They look like the kind of children that would lead you to a mass murderer. They just give off this vibe that these are two kids that you don't want to play with. So later on when they're like, come play with us, Danny, I would have been like, you know what? No thanks. I appreciate it, but nah. So even though Jack Torrance doesn't have the shine ability, since he does have a lot of inner demons, a lot of inner turmoil, and he's an addict and constantly battling himself, he is left open to the ill will of the Overlook Hotel. The Overlook Hotel is one of those places where enough bad things have happened throughout the years that it leaves parts of itself within the building structure, and the building starts speaking to them very, very quickly. So one of the creepiest scenes within this film is when Danny Torrance goes into room 237, which he's been told by Halloran before he left, never, ever, ever go in that room. There's nothing for him in that room. Stay out. He has no business being in that room. Danny does ask Halloran why he is scared of room 237. This is something that he picks up when they're having a conversation in their minds. I always think this when I watch this film. Because Halloran is already having an adult conversation with Danny, who he's very fond of right off the bat, and his ability with the shine, I think it would have just been in the best interest for Danny if Halloran was fully honest with him, because he already tells him that bad things have happened within the building. Once the Overlook actually unlocks the door and leaves it open, inviting young Danny to come in. He's riding his tricycle throughout the Overlook Hotel, which is beautifully shot, and also another amazing example of sound from when the plastic tricycle is going over the wooden floor areas and over the carpet, back to the wooden floor, on the carpet, back on the wooden floor. It sounds amazing. Room 237's open. he goes in there, and you don't actually see what takes place within. Wendy believes that there's somebody else in the building with them, hiding within room 237, and Jack goes to investigate this. There's a beautiful young lady naked in the bathtub who gets up out of the water and walks seductively to Jack Torrance. Did I know what seductively meant when I was in 3rd grade? Hell no. Did I know what sex was when I was in 3rd grade? No, not necessarily. I did not. Did I know what boobies were when I was in 3rd grade? Oh yeah, I knew what boobies were. It was one of those things as a kid, it's like, ooh, boobies. Ooh, see your boobies? And whatever exhilarating and joy there was at seeing these boobies at a young age vastly turned into grotesque, grossed out horror as this lady turns into a very rotten, old, bloated hag right in front of me. Very famous scene when Jack goes into room 237 and beautiful young lady and Jack embrace in a kiss, and within that kiss he sees within the mirror her true form, which is dead, bloated, and grotesque. Within the climax of the film, Jack Torrance has given himself over to the Overlook Hotel. He has been informed by Grady himself, the former caretaker of the building, that if he wants to stay there and be a part of the residency forever, which he does, he needs to get rid of his family. His family needs to be taught a lesson in the most harshest of ways possible, being murdered. Grady is telling Jack that he needs to murder his family brutally and most likely with an axe, the same way that he murdered his wife and his 2 twin daughters. This leads to one of the most epic and most familiar scenes in film history, and one of the most used and recognizable lines in film history also. Jack Nicholson improvised the line, "Here's Johnny," as he breaks through the bathroom door with the axe and sticks his head into the hole that he has made, as Wendy Torrance cowers and hides in the corner in absolute fear, as this man that she's been married to, she no longer recognizes at all, just sees this animal on the hunt, cowering in fear as he's trying to break down this door to Wendy and to get to Danny to murder them. That iconic scene leads to another iconic scene. Jack is chasing young Danny through the Hedge maze, kind of lumbering through the maze because he has a bad leg and knee from taking a bat by Wendy Torrance and falling down some stairs, but he's kind of lumbering after him. He can't actually run full bore. So you have this maniac with an axe that's trying to catch up to his son, walking like a wounded animal, but still fully on attack mode, trying to get to his son to kill him. And it's haunting and terrifying. Young Danny, who's very, very smart, is able to outwit his father in the Hedge maze and find his way back out, and leaves false tracks for Jack to follow. He can't find his way out. He gets lost in the maze and he freezes to death. But he is rewarded with the gift of still being a part of the Overlook Hotel. Jack Torrance actually says within the movie at one part that he feels like he's always been a part of the Overlook Hotel. And we do have the very confusing ending where we see a picture from the 1920s. As the film's coming to a close and the camera is zooming in onto this photo, we see a picture of Jack Torrance, very debonair, in a tuxedo and slick back hair, with a group of people that he possibly could not have been with. It leaves a very open-ended ending for you to interpret what you think that photo means. This movie is a classic. This movie was something special, and I knew that at a young age, even being in the 3rd grade, that you don't see movies made like this too often. Have a beautifully done horror film that can be considered great cinema by people that don't like horror films. So if you've never seen The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of Stephen King's novel, highly recommend that you check it out, especially during this month of October. If you like this video and you want to see other videos like it, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button down in the corner that has the YouTube icon on it, and you'll get notified anytime I upload a new video. As always, I want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for taking the time to let me talk about things that I love, about things that I'm passionate about. So thank you for lending me your ears and your time. Please be safe, be careful, and I'll talk to you soon.